Why Nintendo uses a game keycard for the Switch 2? The Switch 2 uses UFS 3.1 and it is a lot faster than the internal storage we see on the Switch 1. It closely resembles to the speed you see on standard SATA SSD. The Switch 2 storage is way faster to the point Nintendo forces you to use a microSD Express if you want to upgrade your storage for consistency. Because of that, Nintendo needed to make a new faster cartridges for the Switch 2. But this is where the problem begins. Turns out that the Switch 2 cartridges are a lot more expensive to manufacture. Because of that, they took a decision to only make the 64GB model at launch, which is the highest storage variant of the cartridges. They made this decision so that most games can fit inside the cartridges at launch. But there's another problem. The lack of smaller size cartridges meant that if developers want to make a physical version of their games, they need to invest on buying the 64GB cartridges, and the 64GB cartridges cost around $16 per unit. For games that have a size ranging from 30 to 15GB, the developer still needs to invest on those 64GB cartridges. That's why Nintendo made the game keycard as a fast solution for this problem. Because the game keycards were not really a cartridge in the first place, it is way cheaper than not only the Switch 2 cartridges, but also the lowest size Switch 1 cartridges. So developers can release their games physically without worrying too much of the cartridge prices. But a game keycard is still just a game keycard, which means you still need to download the game via internet to play, and the physical card acts like a license for you to play the game, meaning it can only be played if you insert the key card into the system. The downsides of this that you needed to connect to the server and start downloading before you can play. So if Nintendo one day decided to shut down the servers for the Switch 2, that game keycard became nothing more but a piece of plastic. Also, you don't get the full benefit of a full-fledged cartridge where you can insert the card and start playing without any download whatsoever. And it won't affect your storage because the game itself is already installed on the cartridges. If we compare it to the Blu-ray disc on Xbox and PlayStation consoles, same with game keycards, if you buy the disc version of the game, you needed to download the whole game into your console. The only difference is that you don't need to connect it to the internet to start downloading, because the game itself is already installed in the Blu-ray disc. After the download is complete, the disc became nothing more but a license for you to play the game. That's why you always run out of storage even though most of your games were physical. And that's why Nintendo's cartridges are more expensive than the standard Blu-ray disc. There are some good things about the game keycard though. Because you need to insert the keycard into the system, you can still share or sell your games. And for developers, it'll save them some money on physical release, especially for indie developers. Also, I'm not buying Ubisoft's excuse for choosing the game keycards for the physical version of Star Wars Outlaws on Switch 2. Ubisoft said that the decision to use the game keycard is because the Switch 2's cartridges weren't fast enough compared to the system's internal storage. The Switch 2's cartridges were not faster than the internal storage or the microSD Express, but it's fast enough and the difference is only for a few seconds in load time, nothing too significant. If we took a look at the size for Star Wars Outlaws on Switch 2, it's only around 20GB. And if we look at Star Wars Outlaws as a game, it wasn't really a hit. So it'll be very risky to fully invest on a cartridge where the game wasn't really a seller. And the size of them is not even half of the Switch 2's cartridge capacity. And on top of that, Ubisoft is not really in a good position nowadays, and has been declining. Same with Assassin's Creed Shadows, where the risk is too much for a re-release. Even though the game size is around 62GB and can fit to the 64GB cartridge. As for games that exceeds 64GB cartridge, developers also decided to use the game keycard instead. You must be thinking, why don't they just put 64GB into the cartridge, then download the remaining data afterwards? The answer is, they simply can't. This could cause problems of inconsistency on read speeds, and could also cause crashes. Because you're not downloading an update of the game, you're downloading a quarter or half of the core game itself. That's why Nintendo might have to make a bigger size cartridges in the future as well. But there is a good news. Nintendo is working on making the smaller size cartridges that is more affordable for developers so that physical games can be released on a full-fledged cartridge. So hopefully in the future, most Switch 2 games can be stored on the cartridges and not fully reliant on game keycards. And as for the game keycards, it will still play a role for games that have a very small size like 1 to 5GB, and will help indie developers to release their games as a physical copy without investing a lot of money for an actual cartridge. And that's my reasons why Nintendo uses a game keycard for the Switch 2.